as Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah as Sabah on 6 June 1929. The 29th of September 2020 was the Emir of Kuwait and commander of the Kuwait military forces from the 29th of January 2006 until his death in 2020. He was the fourth son of Sheikh Ahmed Al-Sabah Al-Sabah. Al-Sabah was born on the 16th of June 1929. He received his primary education at Al-Mubarakia School in the 1930s and completed his education under tutors. He was the half-brother of the previous Emir of Kuwait, Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah Sabah, who appointed Sabah as prime minister in July 2003, replacing the crown prince of Kuwait, Sheikh Saad al-Salam al-Sabah. His brother was killed when Royal Air Maroc Flight 630 was intentionally crashed by its pilot in 1994. Before becoming Emir of Kuwait, Sabah was the foreign minister from 1963 to 2003, making him the longest-serving foreign minister in the world at the time of leaving office, and the second longest-serving so far. As foreign minister, Sabah restored Kuwaiti international relations after the Gulf War. He was also first deputy prime minister while serving as foreign minister. He was acting minister of finance from 1965 to 1967. He was prime minister and de facto ruler from 2003 to 2006 due to Jaber III's ill health. On the 15th of January 2006, Emir Jaber died, making Sheikh Saad, his crown prince and a member of the Salam branch of the ruling family, the new emir. With Saad's accession, Sabah was likely to become the new crown prince, retaining his function of prime minister. Saad was ill with a form of dementia. Some reports suggested that he suffered from Alzheimer's disease or some other debilitating disease. It was generally agreed that he was unable to speak at any length. As there was concern Saad would not be able to take the constitutionally required oath of office. The Speaker of the National Assembly Jassim al-Kharafi coordinated with members of the National Assembly on a transfer of power to the Prime Minister, Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad. After a power struggle within the ruling family, Saad agreed to abdicate as Emir of Kuwait on the 23rd of January 2006 due to illness. The ruling family then conferred and Sabah became the new Emir. On the 24th of January 2006, the National Assembly of Kuwait voted Saad out of office, moments before an official letter of abdication was received. The cabinet of Kuwait nominated Sabah as Emir. He was sworn in on the 29th of January 2006 with the National Assembly's approval, ending that crisis. In March 2016, Sabah suspended the National Assembly to keep those in opposition from questioning the Kuwaiti Prime Minister over the government's actions. Sabah dissolved the National Assembly on the 19th of March 2008 and called for early elections on the 17th of May 2008. After the cabinet resigned in the week of the 17th of March 2008 following a power struggle with the government. A struggle broke out between the government and parliament in 2012. He dissolved the parliament. Sabah was a regional and international mediator due in part to his place in the Gulf Cooperation Council's leadership order and his 40 years of service as foreign minister and prime minister. Under his leadership, Kuwait acted as a go-between for Pakistan and Bangladesh, Turkey and Bulgaria, the Palestinian Authority and Jordan, factions in the civil war in Lebanon, and the Gulf states and Iran. In 2016, Sabah hosted several United Nations-sponsored meetings of leaders from the warring factions in the Yemeni civil war. Sabah established Kuwait as the key mediator in the Qatar diplomatic crisis that began in 2017, meeting with Saudi and Emirati officials before leaving for Doha to discuss the rift with Qatari leaders. His ongoing efforts were publicly supported by Qatar and other interested parties from the region as well as the US, UK, France, and Germany. At the beginning of September 2017, Sabah discussed the situation with top officials in Washington, D.C., including U.S. President Donald Trump, who hailed his efforts to mediate and applauded Kuwait's critical contributions to regional stability. There were some questions from the boycotting countries about any preconditions. French President Emmanuel Macron stated French support for Sabah's mediation efforts after a meeting in Paris on the 15th of September 2017, reiterating statements of support for the initiative. Trump and Sabah had a third meeting at the White House on the 5th of September 2018. Sabah is credited with playing a role in the creation of the Movement for the National Liberation of Palestine, or Fatah, in October 1959 in Kuwait City. Several of the early leaders of Fatah, and later the Palestine Liberation Organization, also formed in Kuwait in 1964, were close to Sabah, like Khalid al-Hassan. Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter called Sabah a global humanitarian leader, saying, "His support of disaster relief, peace efforts, and advancing public health are an inspiration. Other world leaders can learn from the wise example set by my friend, His Highness the Emir." According to the 2014 Middle East Couts report, Sabah provided the largest individual donation in 2013 among GCC members in support of Syrian refugees in neighboring countries, $300 million. In 2014, United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon cited Sabah as a humanitarian leader globally and presented him with a humanitarian award. Ban said, "It gives me great pleasure and honor to be here today to recognize the leadership of His Highness Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah Al-Sabah, Emir of Kuwait. This is a great humanitarian day. We are sitting together with a great humanitarian leader of our world." In 2015, Sabah pledged $500 million toward easing the Syrian humanitarian crisis at UN summit convened in Kuwait. In August 2017, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres expressed gratitude for Kuwait's leadership in humanitarian action, adding, "But it's not only the humanitarian leadership of Kuwait, it's the wisdom, the dialogue, the promotion of understanding that Kuwait has shown in relation to all conflicts in the region. Kuwait has no agenda. The agenda of Kuwait is peace, is understanding." Guterres further noted the positive role Sabah played in the GCC crisis, and recalled that when he was High Commissioner for Refugees, Sabah presided over the 3 conferences to mobilize the international community to support the Syrian people. Dozens of protesters in Kuwait were arrested for criticizing Al-Sabah. In 2010, the U.S. State Department said it had concerns about the case of Kuwaiti blogger and journalist Mohammed Abdul Qadir al-Jassim, who was on trial for allegedly criticizing the ruling Al-Sabah family and accusing Prime Minister Nasser al-Sabah of mismanagement and corruption, and faced up to 18 years in prison if convicted. He was detained after a complaint against him was issued by the Office of Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Sabah. In January 2013, Ayad al-Hibai was sentenced to 2 years in prison for tweeting, "We call on the Kuwaiti government to abide by international agreements it has signed respecting human rights. As a nation, Kuwait must work toward broadening freedoms, not limiting them." Al-Sabah jailed several members of parliament for criticizing him publicly. In February 2013, a Kuwaiti court sentenced 3 former MPs to 3 years in prison with hard labor for insulting Sabah, and sentenced another man to 5 years in prison for insulting Sabah. At the time, over 300 people were detained in Kuwait on charges of insulting him. In 2016, a Kuwaiti court sentenced 16 people to 2 years in prison after they were found recirculating a 2012 speech by opposition leader Musalem al-Barak which criticized Al-Sabah. Al-Barak, a former MP, was sentenced to 2 years in prison in 2015. After months of hospitalization in the Mayo Clinic Hospital in Rochester, Minnesota, the United States, Sheikh Sabah died on the 29th of September 2020 at the age of 91 due to long-term health issues. The Kuwaiti government declared 40 days of mourning. Sabah's half-brother, the Crown Prince of Kuwait, Sheikh Nawaf, was announced as the Emir of Kuwait. Al-Sabah was buried at Suleybikat Cemetery alongside his family. After Sabah's death, many Arab countries declared mourning periods. Jordan announced 40 days of national mourning. Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Egypt, Libya, United Arab Emirates, Lebanon, State of Palestine and Mauritania all declared 3-day mourning periods. Djibouti declared 2 days of mourning. India, Iraq, Bangladesh and Cuba declared 1 day of mourning. Thank you for watching.
أنا بتذكر رحمة الله عليها زوجتي تقول لي ما تقدر تسكر حلجك عن الضحك، أقول لها يا ريت أقدر، إنه معي طبيعي خلص، ما طبيعة الإنسان.